Good morning, everyone. We're super excited to be here again. I'm Danielle Dubuc Whitman, Executive Director of FCC USA, Fútbol con Corazón. And today we have an awesome guest, Mr. Rodney Barreto, Chairman of FIFA World Cup 2026, and here in Miami. And we're super excited to have you here today. Join us.
Well, thank you, Danny, for having me. I look forward to talking to you.
So excited. I know. Like, Rodney has been around for a long time. Everyone in Miami knows him, knows the work he's done, and he's pioneered. So we're super excited to have you here. I know how devoted you've been with your work and different social impact organizations along the way. And I'll share first how I met you, and then later on I want to discuss a little bit about who is Rodney, how did he get started, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
So I met you through, I was with the Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce, and I met Brad a long time ago, probably in 2018. I had just had my second baby, and I met Brad because Brad was featured as like, he had like an award, or he was nominated, or he won the best philanthropist of that year, young philanthropist. And he was so nice. And we spoke. We had some interns interview him, some of our young interns. And then from there, I met Rich Barbara, who works with you.
Right.
And Rich was super nice. And then we met, I think it was 3 years ago.
Yep.
And then kind of like we remained connected, but after you knew that I was at FCC, that you started hosting or being the chairman for the FIFA host committee in Miami, and we reconnected once again.
Yep.
So who is Rodney Barreto?
Well, I'm a Miami businessman. I'm born and raised here. I'm one of 11 kids. And, so I worked out of high school, went to Miami-Dade College. And then I started doing some construction work, and I didn't like that. And then I became a Miami police officer.
Wow.
And I did that from 79 to 85. And I worked with Monty Trainer's restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there 6 nights a week as an off-duty job, and became very good friends with Monty. And we had an unfortunate incident. I was working plain clothes in the Grove, and someone took a shot at me. And there was a big article in the paper. And when I walked into Monty's restaurant, he looked at me and said, "Hey, I read the article today. I don't like my friends to get shot at. Why don't you come work for me?" And so at that time, Monty had 7 restaurants up, nightclubs up and running. And I immediately became like his right-hand guy. And he's the one that taught me. He's been a big mentor, a dear friend, taught me about giving back to your community.
Wow.
So with him, we worked on a lot of huge community events. And so that kind of instilled in me that, the love for your community, to give back to your community.
I love that.
And it's been a great ride. And, my dad was a big influence on me as well. My dad was a big community type person. He was a businessman. He ran the Florida East Coast Railroad. The land that Metro Rail runs on, my dad sold to the county. And that's how Metro became a reality.
Tell me about birth order. What, from 11 kids? That's a lot.
Yeah.
What was your birth order?
I'm number 9.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your mom is.
We go by numbers. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's amazing, and you're mentioning in a span of years. So you have like construction, which is like you were starting, and then like police officers, super structured, super by the law, by the book, and then all of a sudden you're in a sector with Monty, which is more like people oriented, relationships. How did that transition feel?
It transitioned well. I mean, I enjoyed working with him. I had a front row seat to politics, which ultimately led me into developing my own consulting business. And I built a big business. I had offices on government relations, a lobbying firm.
Wow.
I had offices in Miami, Tampa, Tallahassee, Fort Lauderdale, LA, New York, Washington. And it just became really too big. It was too cumbersome. And I decided to, consolidate back, come back home, stay in Florida. And so we have an office in Tallahassee and Miami now. and we do well. And we represent a lot of people. My business partner Brian May has been with me forever. He's a great partner. We both do really well, and we both give back to the community.
Nice.
He's chairman of the Miami-Dade Arts Council. I still chair the Miami Super Bowl committee, and I chair the Fish and Wildlife Commission for the state of Florida, and now I'm doing the soccer.
Yeah.
So I'm busy.
So that's my next question. Usually people say, stay in your niche, right? You have to stay in your segment and be and specialize in your segment and stay there. And they'll go. One of the things that you kind of defy is that whole thing. Like, you're a generalist. But every silo that you work in or represent, you do it very well. But you're a generalist because you have, like, the scope of work you do and the spectrum that you do is it's crazy. And the most I would say probably the coolest thing about it is how you unite everything. Like, you put a thread on everything, and that's really admirable.
No, thank you. It's, listen, a lot of people ask me, why do you do this? I said, well, listen, first of all, I've been blessed in business, and I have the ability to give back of my time. Right. And I do that, and I do a lot of that. And what's good for when I do these things is great for the community. So everybody says, well, why? So, well, listen, starts right at your airport. People have to fly into Miami. They got to use Uber. They got to use Lyft. They got to rent a taxi. They got to rent a car. They got to stay at a hotel. They got to go to the restaurants. They got to go shopping. It's great for the community. The community benefits.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize that that's really the real benefit.
Yes.
So it really it's really kind of put us on the map. I often tell people Miami's not the hottest city in America. It's the hottest city in the world. Everybody wants to be here, and we have so many good things going on.
Yes.
And we're soon to have the crown jewel. I mean, think about it. Yeah. Soccer, the most popular sport in the world, not in America, the world.
That's crazy.
And we're going to have 7 games here. We'll have the bronze championship. And we've never done this before. It's huge. It's huge. I've done 3 Super Bowls as chairman, but I've never done 7 basically Super Bowls in a row in 5 weeks. And that's what we're getting ready to do.
That is crazy.
It is.
And that it's full of excitement. And so I'm gonna go, because of your comment, that your response, I'm gonna go to, like, we are so privileged, right? Like the growth, the exponential growth Miami has had in the last, I don't know,
15 years.
Last 15 years, but the last 5 years, it's been like, boof, it's like exponential, right?
Right.
So we are attracting talent. We are attracting capital and opportunities. And what do you think, with that blessing also comes a responsibility, right? So what do you think Miami is missing at this moment in the community that we can leverage with this opportunity of the World Cup?
Well, listen, what I think Miami needs to look at is we really need to work on our transportation plan. If you, like you do, when I travel around, you go to a lot of meetings, and the traffic is horrendous everywhere. And we got to come up with a better way to move around our community. I think Ken Griffin brought Citadel from Chicago to Miami, right? And he's bringing a lot of talent here. And so, he's not the only company that's moving here. There's a lot of big companies. When you have a guy like Ken Griffin says the financial center of the world is shifting to South Florida, leaving New York and shifting to South Florida. Yeah. That's a big statement.
It is.
And so you're going to have a lot of movement of things. So that's going to impact your schools, your private clubs, your golf courses, all the social things that happen that people need. It's not just, people need a lifestyle too. So they look at your lifestyle and they say, okay, what do you have available for me to do if I move there? Do I have the proper school? Do I have proper transportation? Do I have the social?
Life, right.
Do I have the arts? We have it all.
Right.
We just it's all got to flow properly. That's all.
It's all got to flow properly.
Yeah.
Yes. What do you think with like, what's your involvement with, because you definitely have been involved in sports for a long time, and you're not like a purist, like, oh, it has to be American football only. No. You believe in the power of sport. So what is your relationship with soccer? I know, I think you don't play it, but you like it. And so what's your relationship with soccer?
Well, listen, I've watched soccer evolve. I mean, remember they had the Robbie family had the striker soccer team way back in when, and it wasn't popular because people didn't understand it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, but as the influx of the Latin and Caribbean influx into South Florida, which we have a big one.
Yeah.
And they all play soccer.
Yeah.
Right? And so you could see, driving down the street, I would see all these different fields, people playing soccer.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up, I played football, American football.
Right.
I didn't, when my
Which is
son...
not so cool. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got it. When my son was born, I didn't want him to play football. American football.
No?
No, because I was really worried that he'd get hurt.
Yes.
And I knew what I went through, and I got beat up pretty good playing American soccer, right? I mean, football.
Yeah.
And so he ended up playing water polo in high school, which was great, a great sport.
A great sport, yeah.
But, you know, so I've seen it evolve. And I, you know, listen, as I move around the community, when the big games are on TV, these restaurants have these huge parties, you know, they flow out into the street. It's just so great to see all the enthusiasm. Yeah. And because we're a melting pot, we have all these different people here in our community, and most of them watch football.
Yeah, soccer.
I
mean, football.
Yeah.
Right.
Football. Yeah.
I like to say football, but they're like, what are you talking about? Yes, it has such a convening power. And if more people were like you, that even though they don't play it, but they see the power that it has, the convening power. Yeah. And it is the number one sport in the world. But it's also number one because it's the most cost-efficient sport. It's the easiest to teach, easiest to learn. And you don't need much to implement it. And it's so pedagogically, it's so flexible because you can teach, like, for example, in FCC, we integrate mental health, emotional wellness. You can even include financial literacy. And kids, they just love to learn because kids are present when they're playing soccer. They can't be on their cell phone. They can't be dissociative. They're completely present. They're super excited. They're producing all these neurochemicals from endorphins, their dopamine, serotonin. So it is amazing to see the power that the tool has, right? Because we see soccer not as, we're FCC, we're not into necessarily creating the talent or Messi's or Ronaldo's, even though if it happens, that's great. But our goal is to form happy, healthy, and productive citizens in the community.
Well, it's sports unites the kids, boys and girls. Team sports, you got to learn how to play together. You need how to respect one another. So sports brings people together.
Yes.
And that's what's great about sports. Your program, which I've watched, and I met your founder not too long ago. And I told him, I said, what I like about your program is you have benchmarks. Mm-hmm. So you're able to watch the kids participate, but you're able to make sure they hit certain benchmarks. Right. And so, which is great. It's a great program. We look forward to partnering up with FCC with World Cup. And I told you that we'd like to have you do more of what you're doing. You're already in, got 12 programs, 14 programs going on?
Yeah, about like 19 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're super excited. And thank you for that. And I know that you have an incredible committee with Janelle and other people that are there, and the way you're leading it, very grassroots to create the impact here in Miami-Dade. We know that not every parent can afford, an after-school extracurricular program. Sometimes if they're not free, they're quite expensive, and usually when parents are in survival mode or they have like high rent, the first thing they cut off is
a lot of it is transportation.
Right.
The parents they're working. They don't have time to take Johnny to the...
It's really the ultimate luxury to be like, oh, let me go take my kids to, that's why there has to, travel soccer has to exist and competitive soccer, and that's okay, the academies. But of course, we have to open more the recreational, grassroots, hyper-local places where the coaches can go, where the kids are. Right. That way, we avoid the whole transportation. We're decreasing traffic as well. It's easier to transport 3 coaches than to have like a bunch of kids going to a park.
Right.
So hopefully, more schools, more nonprofits, more places open up their spaces. We don't need the beauty of soccer is we don't need a actual pitch to play. You can if it's a green space. I mean, we have schools what we play in that they're just like a sandlot, but it's funny, not the best. But
it's funny, but I'm going back 15 years ago. I used to live in a different area of town, and Continental Park. We used to walk. Yes. When I walk every morning, and I would watch these guys come and set up a soccer field at Continental Park. They go put the cones out, and they that was it.
It's the best thing ever. Yeah. Yes. And it's like and then the parents also. It's crazy. There's a whole movement in Homestead, for example, Homestead in Florida City, where the parents, they get off at work and they'll go, sometimes they'll take their kids like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. They'll go play soccer. And sometimes they'll take the kids and they'll just in a whatever piece of land, and they'll put the cones, whatever, and they'll just be there playing, and it's like their therapy. Mm-hmm. So it's a beautiful way to meet with others and engage. So yes, we definitely believe that it has an amazing power, and of course, we also know in health-related issues, diabetes is the number one killer or issue that we have now in children. With pre-diabetes and all these things going on. Of course, you have depression, anxiety, all these things that lower quality of life. So if we have kids that are fit, that can be more, active. That's a whole nother level.
It's a challenge even for like the fish and wildlife. We put a lot. I started a program called Youth Conservation Centers.
Oh, nice.
And what we do is we teach the kids how to use a fishing pole, how to shoot a bow and arrow, actually how to shoot a gun. We teach them all these different things on the outdoors. And the whole premise behind it is to get them away from their portable phone, get them away from their laptop, get them away from their computer, get them to the outdoors, introduce them to the so they understand the beauty of their surroundings.
So good. There's so much science behind that. Yep. There's so much science behind getting in the sun, vitamin D, the grass, nature, just being outside, that's amazing. Rodney, where do you see yourself in terms of like legacy wise? What legacy would you like to leave? This is a two-part question. So what legacy would you like to leave?
Test?
Kind of a psychological test. Okay. So what would you like to leave as a legacy to this community? But before that, so hold that one. I want you to share 2 situations that were probably the hardest for you in your life. The 2 situations, and then how or who was there to support, or something that you learned from those 2 situations that you kind of like use for your leadership currently.
I don't know if I can zero in on 1 or 2 situations. I think what I do is, as I move around and as I get involved in groups and as I represent or I do my business, I look at others and say, I want to be like, either I'm going to emulate that person, take the good from that person, or I go the other way. And when I say go the other way, I surround myself by positive people. Yeah. I have positive energy around me all the time. And if you're negative in someone, I don't want to associate with you. I don't want to hear anything negative. I want to hear things positive. What's better for the community? What's better for our relationship? What's better for our business deal? What's going to make a better deal? How can we make more money? How can we do something better for the community? So I always use my thought process is, how
do we make things prosper holistically? Right.
Not
exactly.
Just me. It's for people
for
around
me,
and what we're doing.
Or how can we look for solutions instead of focusing on
I belong to a group called the Florida Council 100, which is top 150 companies in Florida. Wow. And we all get together and we talk about how do we make things better for everybody. And we look at bigger problems in a
macro level, right?
And we try to bring everybody up together and figure out how can we help everybody. So I look at things differently. So I can't say that I zero in on one thing. I've had, I told you, Monty Trainer's been a big mentor of mine. My dad was a big mentor. Some of my brothers are my mentors. I mean, some of my friends. I look at everybody. I respect people. I respect honesty. I respect integrity. I respect, those who are not out to try to cheat anybody. I want, everybody can proffer, everybody can move forward. It's, but you got to do it the right way.
Yes.
And so I'm a big believer in that. And I think that's
awesome.
And I mean, to your question, I don't think about my legacy. I mean, I am who I am. I'm a proud father. I'm a proud grandfather, and I'm a proud husband. And I think that, when you look at those things, that's, that you got to look at the mirror. But
that's a legacy.
Well, you got to look in the mirror and you got to say, hey, this is who I am.
Yes.
And I think that, life's always going to throw you curveballs. It's not all hunky-dory, you know what I mean? You got to be flexible. You got to be able to withstand the peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's life. And I look at life differently. I look at it in a positive way, not a negative way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what you said about being a father, husband, grandfather, that is incredible because sometimes men, might say, well, for me, I want to be this businessman or this, but it's like you see yourself first family, right? And so that is a blessing to have because you're obviously influencing your, the generations to come, your current and future generations to come. And if I can ask you this last question, because we have 3 minutes, this last question would be, we usually have, sometimes some of our partner speakers, they come and have like career day and they speak to our youth. We have a lot of young coaches. They're planning to study law, sports management, business, and they love the part of social impact. So they mentor with us. They mentor the little ones. They do their community service internship, whatever. So my question would be, if you were to speak to a group of our FCC young leaders, what would be one advice that you would give them?
Always be honest. Because if you make up stories or you make up a lie, it only gets bigger because you got to make up another lie to cover the last lie.
Yes.
So I've always tell people, just be honest. Be honest.
Transparency.
Be transparent. And I would tell people, I said, you're friends with your people that you're friends with till you're 17. And after 17, it's all business. It really is. And you'll have disappointments from people that you know. You think that you're really their friends, but money drives people differently. Money affects people differently.
Yeah.
People have different angles. People don't tell you the whole truth. They don't tell you the whole story. So those are those peaks and valleys. You're going to have disappointments in life. You're going to have people who are going to be there for you, and then there's some people who are going to not be there for you. So you just got to be able to adjust to that.
I love that. Adaptability.
And move on. You got to put things in the rear mirror. You got to. I just keep going forward, and I've had my share of people around me who disappointed me. Had my share of people around me who stood up and were with me. So. And I think that's what the piece of advice I would give kids today.
I love that. Yeah. That's really cool. Yes, because at the end of the day, it's managing those expectations and the resiliency to navigate the ups and downs, and that not everyone is going to be, some people are going to let you down. Some situations will let you down. So that's awesome. And
and a lot of people, are jealous of other people's success.
Yeah.
It's just natural, right? So you gotta. That's something you gotta navigate. And I often tell people, don't wear your wealth on your sleeve.
Go low key.
Keep it low key.
Yeah.
Low key. That way, it don't. It just doesn't. It just doesn't bring problems.
Yes.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
And listen. And I always, one of the things you said, wow, how are you so successful? I said, listen, I'm friendly with everybody. I walk in the room, I stop, I talk to the person who opened the door, I talk to the secretary.
Respectful with everyone.
I respect everybody. I enjoy talking to everybody. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got issues. Everybody's got problems, and just your one comment and say, boy, you look great today, made that person's day for the whole day.
Yeah.
So, it's just, you never know what someone's going through in life.
Yes.
So, so it's always.
I love that.
Yeah, always be respectful. It goes like, it comes around.
Yes.
Comes around.
Treat people with dignity, each individual that you face, no matter what.
Absolutely.
Dignity. That's beautiful. And because we have 28 seconds, I want to say thank you. But I also want to give the opportunity for you to look to the camera, which this one.
That one.
You're going to look to the camera and you're going to close and you're going to say what you want for the World Cup. You have 10 seconds, Rodney, to say it.
Well, listen, Miami is getting ready to have World Cup 26 and 7 big games here at Hard Rock Stadium, and we look forward to seeing everybody out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rodney. We love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.